Hi everyone, today we are going to learn about creating a Google Compute Engine virtual machine. There are three ways to make a virtual machine. You can use the console, or you can use the command line, or the third option is to make it using the deployment manager. In this tutorial we'll see how we can make a virtual machine using console and command line. And in my upcoming video tutorial I'll tell you how you can do the same using deployment manager. Compute Engine is infrastructure as a service for Google Cloud. Let me just give you a brief explanation on infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure as a service is a form of cloud computing that provides virtualized computing resources over the internet. So basically with Compute Engine, you build infrastructure in the form of resources, and then the machine that you create is provisioned and managed over the internet. For those who are not familiar with the term virtual instance or machine, I will try to explain in a simple way so that you have an idea of what virtual machine is. So our laptop is known as machine. It is local machine because it stays with us, we can touch it, see it, and it is physical in nature. Virtual machine is also kind of for a laptop or computer, but it is virtual. In simple words, it is a virtual computer that you can access from anywhere in the world provided that you have internet access. Like any other physical computer, it does have storage, OS, RAM, and it can run applications too. Great, right? Now the cool thing is you can create your own machine using Google Cloud Compute Engine. So to create your own virtual machine, we'll click on navigation icon, also known as hamburger icon, and then we'll scroll down to compute and then compute engine, and then we'll click on VM instances. To create one, we'll click on create. This will be the name of your instance you're creating. So if you want to make any changes to this, you can make the changes to my demo instance 1. The region where you want to create your instance, so I'm fine with the region, default region, so I'm not going to make any changes to this. The machine type decides how powerful you want your machine to be, so you get different options. You can choose from these options if you want. I'm going to stay with the default one, N1 standard 1, which will give me one virtual CPU and 3.75 GB of memory. Next is the disk or the image. We're going to select the image. To change the selected image, click on change. Selecting the image means selecting the OS you want for your machine that you're building, like Windows or Linux, and you get different flavors for Linux. And if you want to change the OS, you can just click on this drop down menu, and these are all the options that you get: Windows, Ubuntu, SUSE, SQL Server, CentOS. So if you want to select from these, you can select any, but for this tutorial I'm going to stay with the default one, that is Debian. And these are the versions that you get: Linux 10, Linux 9, so Linux 9, boot disk type, standard persistent disk, the default one, and the size 10 GB is perfect. Don't want to make any changes here, I'll just click on select. Next, identity and API access. I'm again going to go with the default access. So basically for everything you need some kind of access. Even to create resources, different roles and permissions are required. Once your instance is created, it also needs access to communicate with other services. If you're not familiar with what roles and permissions or service accounts are, do let me know if you want a tutorial on them, and I'll create one for you. Next, we are going to check these little check boxes under Firewall. That will allow HTTP traffic and HTTPS traffic. If you're not familiar with what firewall means or what firewall rules are, I'll mention somewhere on the screen. You'll be able to see the link on my previous window where I've explained what firewall rules are. You can see that. Next, we are going to select the network we want to work in. We'll go to the networking section. Under network interfaces, if you want to work with the default network, that is perfectly fine. For this tutorial I'm going to work with the default network, but if you want to work with the VPC that you created, you'll have to click on this pencil icon and then under network, you can select the custom VPC that you created. If you don't know how to create a custom VPC, you can see my previous tutorial on creating custom VPCs, and then you'll be able to create your own VPC. But for this tutorial, as I told you, I'm going to go with the default one. And then once everything is done, I'll click on done, and then we'll click on create. So this might take few seconds. Voila, we have successfully created an instance using console. Next task is to create the instance using command line. So if you're preparing for Google certification, you must build up a habit to work with command line. I know that there are thousands and thousands of commands and it is not possible for you to remember each of them, but I will tell you a little trick that will help you in exam as well as in your professional life. So every cloud command has a pattern, okay? Let's just look at the example. Let's start making the instance using command line, and then I'll explain you the pattern. So to start working with the command line, we'll activate the cloud shell from this little icon here. We'll click on this icon. So the cloud shell is activated. Make sure your project you're working in is selected. If it is selected, you will be able to see something like this with your project name here. So my project name is my project ID is test project 267910. If you're not able to see something like this with your project ID, you'll have to put in a command that says gcloud config set project, and then you'll have to mention the project ID and you'll be able to select the project. So to create an instance, the command is gcloud compute instances create, and then the name of the instance. So my instance 2 zone selected as US Central 1 zone will come with A, B or C. Machine type for this instance, I'm going to select F1 micro, image. We'll have to use the flags. Image is equal to Debian 9 stretch version 202.00.210, and the image project equal to Debian cloud. So soon the instance will be created. So the instance is created and the status is running. What if you just type this command, gcloud compute instances create, and you just give the name of the instance? Will you be able to create the instance or not? Let's see. I've messed up with the instances in my choice. So I've messed up with the spelling of instances. That's why I got an error. There we go. So yes, it is asking us to select the zone. Maybe I want to create the instance in this zone. So if I want to create in this zone, I should press Y, or if not, I should press N and then enter. And then I'll get the list from where I can choose the zone. So I want to create the instance in US Central 1B. So I'm going to go with numeric code of 50. There we go, my instance is created. So the pattern which I was talking about, see, the first thing that we write is gcloud, and then the name of the service, compute instances. We always write it as instances, and the action that we want to do, that is to create, and then the name of the instance we are creating. Four, like this. So remember this pattern, you always start with gcloud and then the name of service you're working with, compute instances, and then the action that you're doing on the service, that is create, and then the name of the instance. That's all for today. I hope this tutorial was helpful. I hope you were following the tutorial and you've made the instance using console and command line. If you haven't done it yet, please do it. Please work on your laptop, work on your Google Cloud platform. That way you'll be able to remember everything that you've done. Otherwise you won't be able to retain anything. I hope this tutorial was helpful. Thank you. See you till next time.